What's up, YouTube world? Today I'm going to change this kitchen cabinet bottom to look from this to this. And here's what you need. Of course, you need your tile. So here we have the Floor Pops floor tiles, peel and stick vinyl. These are 12 by 12 inches, 10 come in a pack. They run about $15 a pack. I found these online. You can probably get them from the hardware store, but they may be a little more expensive. Here's a West Scott multi-purpose cutter. I just call it a sliding cutter because the way it works, place your paper, or in this case a floor tile, under there, and you just slide and it makes the cut. Cool thing about these, doesn't make a cut all the way through, but it scores it just enough where you can just bend it and it comes right off real easy. You'll need a pencil just so you can make your marks, your cutting locations, and then a handle roller so that after you place the tile where it goes, you want to give it a nice press and roll so that way it sticks very well to the surface. And another thing you need to do so you get a nice stick on the surface is make sure you have a clean surface. What I did, I vacuumed it. May want to vacuum it first, and then with a damp cloth just wipe it down. Nothing crazy, just doing those things will be enough, unless you got a smoother surface, which in that case I would definitely make sure it's free of oils and adhesives. In this case, a damp cloth is suffice. Before you peel and stick, you want to lay them down just to make sure that your shapes line up with each other, because they will not all the time. If you rotate it, you'll see you get a different lineup every single time. So just want to make sure you do this first before you peel and stick, because you don't want to be lifting it up after you stick it. Now, for these pieces where this is not a 12 by 12, you're gonna have to make your cuts. This one I've already made, but I'll show you guys on the next one. Here we're gonna have to make a cut because it wants to extend out, so we'll be making just a one-sided cut. It'll be very easy. As you can see, these peel off very easily. Easier with two hands, but in this case I'm showing you because I gotta record it. There we go. This one out the way, and you want to push all the way up against that corner and all the way up against the front end or the back end. Press it down with your hand, and then we use that handle roller like I said. I'll do a better job of just to show you guys, just so that it makes nice contact with the surface and it bonds well. And we're ready for the next one. So I got the back side peeled and stuck on, even the corner. Now we're gonna work on the front ones, and to get a nice starting point, I'm gonna start on the far right side. That way it's a nice starting point. I can make it flush with the wall and then work my way out this way, rather than having to line this up and make sure I'm perfect. So we got to make this cut, and I'm gonna show you how. Since this piece is going to be the same as this top corner piece, I'm just gonna hold it up flush right on top of it, and using my pencil just mark a spot where it ends. So I've made my mark. Now I'm going to make my cut using the sliding cutter. Bring one of the cutters to the bottom. So you got it in there, just make sure it's nice and flush. Get the line lined up with where the blade, that's where the blade's going to be cutting, so just line up your line with that. And then I'll need two hands to make the cut so I can hold it still and it doesn't slide on me, but literally just press down and slide all the way up. And like I said, you'll need two hands so you can hold it on both sides as you're sliding up. You don't want the tile to shift because it takes quite a little bit of pressure. So that's just a nice tip to know. And now, like I said, it makes a nice score, and you can just fold it and peel it off. Now we got our piece. Seems to be just right. Now, since this is the bottom part, we also got to make a second cut, because when you make it flush, it wants to stick out. So we got to cut a little more on the bottom. I want to show you exactly how I make my cut. It's a little strategy I use. So obviously this is the way I want it to sit. It lines up perfectly. I like it. That's how I want it to sit. But because this lip here is maybe a 1/4 inch, if I make my line here, it's not going to be as perfect as if I place it down here first, line it up down here, and then make my mark here. Now obviously I don't want to cut up here because that's the part that lines up well. And what I do is I flip it over, line it up flush. I'm gonna make my mark with the pencil, and I'll end up cutting this end, and when I go to place it, I flip it over, it'll fit, and I won't be messing with this side because it's gonna line up just the way I want it. Just a little tip. Alright, so I made my score. Remember, we're placing it down here, made the line. Now we got score. And just bend it, and it comes right off. That easy. Now, this was the side we cut up here, but that's the side that we're lining up. And sometimes the cuts don't come out perfect. Looks like I may need to take off just a hair. Of course, these cabinets aren't perfectly aligned, so I may have to just take a little off this end here. And for that, you could just use scissors. Scissors work just fine, or a knife cutter, but knife cutters aren't accurate, so I recommend scissors. Alright, so I've made my slight little cut there. Now it slides in just perfectly. And notice I still have the paper on the back, so that way I want to make sure it's going to go in the way it needs to first before I peel and stick. And at this point, we're ready for just that. We're going to peel and stick it. Now, do want to mention, they're also Westcott, came in a kit. These are like heavy duty scissors. They almost cut through anything. I'm not sponsored, but they're just really, really good scissors. I recommend them. Now I want to make sure I cover any like tough things that come up. I end up coming across because I just didn't know. So this one lines up good, but my cut was just off by a little bit. But it's not just this corner, it's the whole length. And for that, I don't recommend using this because it's really hard to cut just a little bit using the multi-purpose cutter. So what I'm gonna do is with the scissors, make the cut, just eyeball it all the way across. Of course, it's not gonna be perfectly straight, but that's gonna just be the end that sits down here, and you're not really gonna see if it's a perfect straight line or not. So that's a problem I came across. I wanted to share it with you guys. If the whole entire length of it is not perfectly cut and you have to cut just a little bit, use the scissors. Alright, so this whole side has been placed in. I cut off the little bit on the bottom, got it in there nice. Now, if you are a perfectionist, just a heads up, you may have to train your mind to just let little things like this go. Of course, these pieces aren't perfectly aligned. The cabinet dimensions aren't perfectly aligned. Nothing is perfectly straight. So I pushed as far as I could and could not get it flush with that part. But it is nice and flush down here. So it's not lining up perfect, that's all. But it's just a little, I don't know, something small. No biggie. It'll still look great. Now, to do the left side, one thing, the way I'm going to start this side is I want to make the fewest cuts possible. So, like I said earlier, I'm working from the right to the left. And if I were to continue that, I'd be making a tiny cut there to fit this piece here. And if that was the case, then this one would go in without any cuts, but then I'd have to make another cut for this. Instead, start from the end. Ends are good starting points. One piece in, two piece in, and then we only have to make a cut for this piece. So that's how I'm going to start these. Alright, so the top two are in, nice and aligned. I'm gonna continue with putting the bottom two in, and just like the bottom ones over here, we just have to line these up, cut a bit off the bottom, and remember the strategy, put this flush, make your mark, and cut it. But of course, make sure you don't cut the side you don't want to, or the side that you're gonna use. You don't want to cut off that piece. So if we're using this side, you flip it over, make it flush, make your mark, cut, and then the side you're using to line up is the opposite. So cut opposite to the part you're aligning. Hey everyone, I lied. I just done effed up right now. Starting from this side after you already started on that side, you can't come and like try and do less, fewer cuts. You have to continue the pattern, because now these are in, and there's no such way to place a piece of tile in here that will combine those. Yeah, so luckily I have exactly the right amount to redo this. This requires 6 pieces of tile. I have 6 pieces left. I'm gonna have to remove these. If I could reuse them, I may, but I have 6 more, so I might as well use them. Okay, let's carry on. So to make this cut here, I didn't think I was gonna need it, but I need it. This guy just started all the way from this side. What this guy does is gets you the shape that you need for your cut. Damn it. When you get your shape, you get your piece, you line it up, make a mark here, you make a mark over here, and you're going to join up your marks and that's the piece you're going to cut out. So in this case, we would go up and over, cut it, and when we cut the piece out, it'll come out just like this, and slide it in there. Not too difficult, just an extra step that I wasn't expecting, but that's probably the hardest part now. This piece, just cut off the top some, and these two pieces should be easy. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm gonna finish this and call it a night, but gotta say, looks a whole lot better now than what it did before. Have a good night.